Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
My father's hands knew things his mouth didn't say. The feel of a bearing going bad a particular way. A belt sounds when it's 2 weeks from failure. The temperature of an engine that's running right versus the temperature of one that's working against itself. This knowledge live below language in the accumulated college of 10,000 hours of attention to metal in motion. He passed some of it to me through the same notion, not explanation, demonstration. The patient waiting for me to feel what he felt, the calibrating of my attention to the object until I started to hear it. I never got as good as him. The year of apprenticeship I had was not as sturdy, but I carry enough to know when something's hurting in a machine, to know the difference between sounds that mean nothing and sounds that mean the grounds for stopping before the worst thing happens.
The mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine. The mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine. The mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine. The mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine.
There was a philosophy in how we approached the broken thing. No frustration at the object, no catastrophizing. Something's broken, you find what's broken, you fix it. The clarity of that sequence, the way it fits, without drama into the problem-solving frame. I've applied it to everything since. The same three-step sequence in situations that are mechanical. Something's wrong, you find what's wrong. Methodical assessment before action. No noise before you know. He didn't call it a philosophy, he didn't need to show the framework, because the framework was the work was the teaching. Nothing left in the murk of abstraction, just the hood up in the hands and the light. I learned more about thinking from watching them work right than from any formal course and reasoning. The hands were the syllabus, the garage was the seasoning. You know,
the mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine. The mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine. The mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine. The mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine.
He's retired now, his hands still look like a mechanic's. The specific callous pattern, the stain that organics don't fully remove from the creases. The evidence of decades of work written into the permanence of the skin itself. I look at my hands sometimes softer. Different use, different times, but the way I approach a problem, the sequence, the patience with the diagnostic before the sentence of action. That's his, that's in my hands, even if the calluses aren't. The knowledge shifted into something else, but it's still running. This track hits for him, for the garage, for the cunning. The hands that know things, language has a name, yeah.
Mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine. The mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine. The mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine. The mechanic, son, not a mechanic, something between. Enough of the knowledge to read the machine. The mechanic, son, the hood stays up. The hands still know. The garage quiet. The knowledge runs.
Three generations in my direct line. My grandfather, my father, me, 3 different countries in the order of birth. 3 different relationships with the same set of values, transmitted and translated to frame. Bending with each crossing while something inside of hell. My grandfather built with his hands what he spelled. Out in the world was structural, physical, visible. Buildings he helped raise are still standing, divisible from the landscape of the city. He worked in for 30 years. He left that city with nothing held by property deeds, arrears of institutional record, just to build and standing. And the children he raised in the specific understanding of work that passed from him to his son. My father took that understanding and transposed it, done in a different key, different medium, different city, but the same underlying instruction. Show up, work the gritty, detail matters. You are what you actually do. 3 generations, what passes, what breaks, what renews. The inheritance is not a simple transfer of the same. It's a translation, generation of a flame. The change is color with each crossing but keeps burning. My father broke one thing consciously that his father passed. The silence around difficulty, the holding fast to the composure that doesn't admit the struggle. My grandfather's generation wore it as a buckle. You held your trouble private, you maintained the surface. My father decided after his own course the purpose of the silence wasn't protection, it was isolation. He started talking to us, to his friends. The station of emotional honesty he built was deliberate, built against the grain of what he'd inherited. The deliberate choice to break a transmission he saw was costing. I received what he built, the talking, the crossing into the difficult conversation. Instead of around it, I received it young enough that I don't have to surround it with the deliberate effort he had to make. It's just how I operate, that's what the break in the chain gives you. The new behavior normalized for the next generation already internalized. Three generations, what passes, what breaks, what renews. Three generations, what passes, what breaks, what renews. The inheritance is not a simple transfer of the same. It's a translation, generation of a flame that changes color with each crossing but keeps burning, burning. That changes color with each crossing but keeps burning, burning. I think about what I'm passing to my own, what I've examined and what I've left alone, unexamined, still running in the background. There are certainly things I transmit without being found out about them, yet habits of thought, responses to pressure, the particular shape of my stubbornness, the measure of my generosity and its limits. Some of it my children will name, the witness of children, the parents is the most accurate or available to tell me eventually what I was, the habitual patterns I couldn't see from inside. It's fair, that's the accountability of the three-generation stare. You see what your parents pass and what it costs. You see what you're passing and estimate the loss and the gain, and you stay honest about the work that's still required. The chain doesn't jerk in the virtue automatically, it requires attention every link. This track hits for all three, for the chain, for the think through that each generation knows the next. Three generations, what passes, what breaks, what renews. Three generations, what passes, what breaks, what renews. The inheritance is not a simple transfer of the same. It's a translation, generation of a flame that changes color with each crossing but keeps burning, burning. That changes color with each crossing but keeps burning, burning. The grandfather built, the father spoke, the son examines, the chain continues. Yo, my uncle didn't own much, but he kept specific things. A chest set with 2 pieces missing, filled in with bottle caps. A journal he'd been writing in for 20 years by hand, every page dense, the ink gone pale at the edges. A record collection organized by mood, not all his categories. He named himself and never explained to anyone. He lived in 2 rooms above a hardware store on DeKalb, worked at the post office nights, read during the days. Nobody in the family knew what to make of him exactly. Too educated for one conversation, too broke for another. He existed in the margin of what made sense to the main story, which is exactly where I found it most useful. He talked to me like I was already the person I was trying to become, not the current version, the one further down the road. That anticipatory respect is one of the rarest gifts one person gives another. It creates a little space you grow into instead of outgrow. What my uncle kept was harder to define than what he had. My honor, what he had, a way of being in the world that wasn't good or bad. It wasn't good or bad or bad. By the usual measures, something more precise, something more precise than that. What my uncle kept, what my uncle kept, the head of thinking where it's at. He taught me chess with the bottle caps, filling in the bishop. Said the missing pieces taught you to work with what exists. Every problem has a version where something you need isn't there. The skill is not waiting for the full set before you play. He showed me how to lose without collapsing the whole frame, how to study the loss, extract what it tells you and come back the same. Fundamental person who sat down, just updated, just a little more honest about where the gaps are located. He had opinions about everything but held them lightly. Changed his mind openly when new information arrived. Slightly proud of the adjustment, like flexibility
me was its own achievement. I didn't understand it then, now I see the investment. In that posture, how much it cost to hold convictions loosely, to risk being wrong publicly. The reason rather than use the appearance of certainty as armor. My uncle lived in questions, the questions were the harbor. But what my uncle kept was harder to define than what he had. And what he had, a way of being in the world that wasn't good or bad. That wasn't good or bad, or too bad. By the usual measures, something more precise than that. More precise than that, what my uncle kept. But my uncle kept the habit of thinking where he sat. He died with the journal still open on the table, mid-sentence, mid-thought, which felt exactly right and stable. For someone who never quite finished the position, always one more consideration, one more revision. I have the journal now, I don't read it often, but when I do, I find a mind genuinely wrestling, not performing the struggle, but actually in it, turning the hard questions over without rushing to finish. That's what he kept and what he passed to me without naming it. The willingness to sit with difficulty, the practice of framing it is something interesting rather than something to escape. This track plays warm for him, for the 2 rooms, the chest with the bottle caps, for the record collection organized by mood. The journal's still open for what gets passed sideways when the main line's broken. But what my uncle kept was harder to define than what he had. What he had. A way of being in the world that wasn't good or bad. That wasn't good or bad, or bad. By the usual measures, something more precise than that. More precise than that, what my uncle kept. What my uncle kept. The habit of thinking where he sat. But what my uncle kept was harder to define than what he had. What he had. A way of being in the world that wasn't good or bad. That wasn't good or bad, or bad. By the usual measures, something more precise than that. More precise than that, what my uncle kept. What my uncle kept. The habit of thinking where he sat. The chessboard waits. The journal stays open. The record plays. The thinking continues.
First thought is fast, second thought is earned. I trust what survives the second one. Start there. My first thought often arrives dressed like truth, quick, efficient, persuasive, useful in the booth of immediate reaction where speed gets praised, but speed and accuracy aren't always the same. The first thought is pattern recognition, doing what it can, a nervous system shortcut, a season in a hand. And sometimes it's brilliant, sometimes it's exactly right, but sometimes it's old fear passing as insight. That distinction matters more than pride can comfortably admit. I make confident mistakes with all the rhetoric to fit. What saved me was not certainty, but the habit of delay, the discipline of asking what remains after the first say. Second thought is not cowardice, it's revision under care. It's making room for what the ego leaves out of the air. A lot of damage comes from people over trusting fluency, mistaking verbal speed for depth and force for lucency. I know because I did it, I know the pleasure of being quick. I also know how often quickness misses what is thick. Second thought doctrine, I doubt for its own sake. A pause long enough to see what judgment might mistake. The first spark matters, but it isn't the whole flame. Second thought doctrine, that's how I name the game. Second thought doctrine, I doubt for its own sake. A pause long enough to see what judgment might mistake. The first spark matters, but it isn't the whole flame. Second thought doctrine, that's how I name the game. The latter rule strikes and leaves a ringing after space. That's what I'm trying to preserve in thought. A little grace, an interval between impression and conclusion, where context can arrive and weaken the illusion that everything is obvious to a sharpened mind. A sharpened mind still needs a way to stay refined. Not every answer benefits from more delay, but the important ones usually do in some way. Relationships especially, how often have we harmed by answering the surface while the deeper thing alarmed? A different response entirely if only we stayed long enough with what was difficult instead of what was made immediately available by mood and wounded pride. Second thought has rescued me from speaking from the side of myself that wanted victory more than accuracy, the side that wanted closure over actual clarity. That part still lives in me, I don't pretend it's gone, I just trust it less now when it rushes to be strong. Second thought doctrine, I doubt for its own sake. A pause long enough to see what judgment might mistake. The first spark matters, but it isn't the whole flame. Second thought doctrine, that's how I name the game. Second thought doctrine, I doubt for its own sake. A pause long enough to see what judgment might mistake. The first spark matters, but it isn't the whole flame. Second thought doctrine, that's how I name the game. What I admire now are minds that can revise in public, who don't experience update as reputational damage, who care more for getting closer than appearing already there. That kind of rigor is rare because humility is rare. We confuse firmness with depth and stubbornness with spine, when sometimes strength is altering the line. Second thought doctrine
Meditation isn't endless hesitation. It's discipline, reflection, and service of precision. You still decide, you still move, you still accept the cost. You just refuse to worship every first idea as law. That's changed the way I listen, changed the way I write, changed the way I argue, changed the way I hold what's right. Not lose or true or less anxious to conclude, more able to let complexity remain in view. The first thought opens the door, the second checks the frame. What survives both passes, that's the thought I claim. Be quick enough to notice, slow enough to know. That's the balance, that's the growth.
You know what? You know what? Yo, you know what? You know what? You know what? Yo, my father learned English from the radio and the dictionary. No class, no teacher, the library on Flatbush as a seminary. He went every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 years. After his shift, sat with the headphones and the tapes and the fears that the language would always be a house he lived in as a guest. Never quite at home in the grammar, never fully addressed by the syntax as someone who belonged. The fear was accurate in some ways and in others was wrong. He never lost the accent, didn't try to, which was his own position. The accent was the record of the journey, the admission, ticket to where he came from. The marker that said, I arrived, I learned, I held both, now it's dead. Some people race the accent like erasing the debt, like the origin is something to clear to forget. He wore was like a second garment, present particular. Here's the English and the underneath, both regular. Second language, the words you learn as an adult, they sit differently in the mouth, a different result. But what you say in them is not less true, not less yours. The grammar displacement opens its own doors. Second language, the words you learn as an adult, they sit differently in the mouth, a different result. But what you say in them is not less true, not less yours. The grammar displacement opens its own doors. There are things he can't say in English with the full weight. The specific sorrow, the specific joy arrive too late after the translation depleted by the crossing. He switches sometimes mid-sentence, not losing the English but supplementing it with what only other carries. I understand more than I speak, our conversation exists in this bilingual space that isn't really either language. That's a third thing built between two people navigating the management of meaning across a gap. That's not just vocabulary, it's the whole architecture. What you know is ordinary, the reference points, the cultural furniture of thought, the things that need no explanation that you learn and taught yourself to see is universal when they're actually specific. His English is excellent, his English is not the certificate. A full arrival is more complicated. It's not a destination, it's a practice, and it's not rated on fluency, it's rated on whether you remain yourself in the new language, whether you bring both off the shelf. Second language, the words you learned as an adult, they sit differently in the mouth, a different result. But what you say in them is not less true, not less yours. The grammar of displacement opens its own doors. Second language, the words you learned as an adult, they sit differently in the mouth, a different result. But what you say in them is not less true, not less yours. The grammar of displacement opens its own doors. I'm fluent in the language he struggled toward. I take for granted what he built board by board. The English that came to me without the cost it took him, without the Tuesday nights, the library, the look in his face when he found a word he needed and almost had it. I hold a struggle in mind, the way your building has it. The foundation invisible under withstanding. What I speak easily, he bought with time and understanding that I'll never fully access because I came after. His track plays for him for the Tuesday library chapter. For everyone who learned the language in the evening after the work, who held both tongues without leaving. Either one, behind the second language is the archive of what it costs to cross both languages are alive. Second language, the words you learned as an adult, they sit differently in the mouth, a different result. But what you say in them is not less true, not less yours. The grammar of displacement opens its own doors. Second language, the words you learned as an adult, they sit differently in the mouth, a different result. But what you say in them is not less true, not less yours. The grammar of displacement opens its own doors. You know, yo, you know, you know, the dictionary stays open, yeah, the accent holds, both languages continue, the crossing remains, Some opinions arrive fully dressed.
confident, inherited, never exam. That's where the trouble starts. Yeah. I carry certainty for years that I had never earned. Positions inherited whole before the questions had returned. Family saying social scripts, the tones of trusted men. I wore them like conclusions long before I tested them. That's the efficient way to build a self in early life. Borrow structure from the voices that reduce the noise and strife. A child can't fact check everything. Belief is partly shelter. You take the map you're given first and hope it gets you better. The issue comes much later when the borrow starts to crack. When lived experience puts pressure where the theory gives you back. Not clarity but friction, little failures at the scene. Places where the idea doesn't match the thing you've seen. I've had convictions fail me in the presence of the real. Not because they lacked intention, but because they couldn't feel the weight of actual nuance. The cost of being wrong. Borrowed certainty sounds strong until it meets the long unfolding of a life that refuses easy claims. That's where the work begins. That's where you test the names.
Borrowed certainty can carry you a while. It gives you posture, language, maybe even style. But if you never test it won't survive the strain. Borrowed certainty returns to doubt again.
The trumpet lands low like a thought with second thoughts. Not indecision is weakness, more respect for what is not fully visible. From one angle, one decade, one room. I've come to trust the mind that leaves a little open room. Not because all things are relative, shapeless, undefined, but because reality is larger than the first persuasive line. A strong mind isn't one that never updates what it knew. It's one that tolerates revision without splitting into two. That took me time, ego loves continuity. It wants the story smooth, not marked by discontinuity. It wants to say I always knew, I saw it from the start. But growth leaves obvious adage. If you tell the truth with art, I can point to old conclusions. I defend no more today, not with shame. With gratitude, they finally gave way. The false security of being fixed is overrated. A living mind stays accurate by being renovated.
Now borrowed certainty can carry you a while. It gives you posture, language, maybe even style. But if you never test it won't survive the strain. Borrowed certainty return to doubt all again.
What I value now is earned conviction, slower, less dramatic, built from contradiction, faced directly, not from habit. A principle that's lived through contact and retained its form. A thought that held in weather, not just in a room that's warm. You don't know lifelong loyalty to every early frame. Some ideas serve the season and should not govern the same adult terrain. You navigate with fuller sight and course. The point is not to keep the shell, it's not to mourn what's lost. The point is to become more honest about how you came to know what came from fear, what came from trust, what came from need. And so badly for the world to simplify that you accepted what was near. I understand that impulse now, I keep it in the clear, but I don't let it rule me. I ask a harder thing. Does this belief hold up in life? What does this practice bring? Borrowed certainty got me started. I can honor that and move. What remains after examination, that's the truth I choose.
Question it, question it, question it. Not to destroy it, not to destroy it. Find out. Question it, question it, question it. Oh, if it's actually yours, actually yours, or actually yours, or actually yours. Question it, question it, question it, question it. Hit it, hit it. Not to destroy it, to destroy it. Question it, oh, if it's actually yours, and that's surely yours, and that's surely yours.
The Concrete posts don't fade when you cross the bridge. It stays in the walk, in the way you read the ridge of every corner before the turn arrives. Most hear the noise, few feel what survives underneath the horns and the sirens cry.
Concrete posts,
the vein that don't break, the living rhythm no distance can shake. It costs nothing, it just lives inside. Yeah, taught me timing without a watch or a clock, how to move with the city instead of against the block. The post never lies, never asks for applause. It simply carries you when you learn its laws.
concrete posts,
The vein that don't break,
concrete posts,
the vein that don't break,
concrete posts,
the vein that don't break,
concrete posts.
the vein that don't break. Yeah, I still sync with it when the train rattles right, when the avenue tilts familiar in the night. This track plays for the pulse, for the carriers who know, for the ones who feel it wherever they go.
Concrete posts,
The vein that don't break,
concrete posts,
the vein that don't break,
concrete posts,
the vein that don't break,
concrete posts.
the air that don't break. Yo, yes, I yo, the pulse stays alive, the concrete remembers. Both things are true, that's the whole tempo.
Concrete posts, concrete posts, concrete posts.
There's a phantom fork that splits right where the choice was made. Not screaming regret, just a quiet blade running parallel in the corner of the eye. At 23 I lock one path in the side of the other version still breathes in the walls. This ain't loud morning with its endless calls. This is the silent weight of a road not walk. Phantom fork, not haunting, just marking the course of the door that stays dark. It don't beg to be followed, it just stands as proof that the decision had real hands. Yo, the chosen path proves solid with time, but the phantom still walks the same line. Reminded without accusation and spite, every real fork leaves a quiet light from the life you seal behind the gate. Phantom fork, not haunting. I stopped trying to bury it under new dirt. The phantom proves the stakes were worth the weight. This track runs cold for the split, for every soul that still feels the twist. Yo, fork stays open. Shadow walks quiet. The choice holds. The phantom stays private. Yo.
Yo, you wanna go, my framed it on the wall. Still got it to this day. Yo, the first dollar that I earned the honest way.
First dollar, smallest bill, biggest meaning, the foundation of everything I've been building. First dollar, sweated for and earned clean, the realest currency I ever held between. Yo, 13 summers cutting grass on the avenue, dragging that on over 3 blocks just to get through. $8 for a yard, split with my cousin Ray, $4 each. We thought we were doing okay. Bought a sandwich and saved the rest in the coffee can. That was the beginning of a very simple plan. Every dollar after that connected to that first, a chain of honest work that I never let disperse. The kick hits heavy like the mower on hot concrete. The snare drops sharp like the handshake on the street. I never forgot what that first earning felt like. The ownership of something made your work feel right. Not about the $4, but about the principle that what you build yourself is never really minimal. First dollar, smallest bill, biggest meaning, the foundation of everything I've been building. First dollar, sweated for and earned clean, the realest currency I ever held between. I watched some take the faster route and understood when slow and honest looked impossible from the hood. I don't judge the choices that I never had to make, but I knew my lane and what was mine to take. The long road had a certain kind of clarity. Every step was mine with no shared debt to carry. When I look at what I built, I know exactly how. No complicated story, just the work in the now. The synth pad drifts cold like a winter calculation. The piano minor falls like a quiet confirmation. Flow even because the earnings came in even. No boom and bust, just steady work and breathing. First dollar, smallest bill, biggest meaning, the foundation of everything I've been building. First dollar, sweated for and earned clean, the realest currency I ever held between.
First dollar, smallest bill, biggest meaning. The foundation of everything I've been building. First dollar, sweat it for it, earn clean. The realest currency I ever held between. Yeah. People ask about the secret like there's one to tell. I show them that framed dollar, and they know it well. It says start somewhere, it says earn it clean. It says the first one is the hardest and the most pristine. Stack honest money like you stack these bars with patience and intention, not just reaching for stars. Boom bap for the first dollar and what it starts. For honest come up, built on working parts. First dollar, smallest bill, biggest meaning. The foundation of everything I've been building. First dollar, sweat it for and earn clean. The realest currency I ever held between. First dollar, smallest bill, biggest meaning. The foundation of everything I've been building. First dollar, sweat it for and earn clean. The realest currency I ever held between. Still on the wall, right next to the window. First dollar, where everything began to grow. Still on the wall, right next to the window. First dollar, where everything began to grow.
What remains, and if ain't inheritance. Some of it is rhythm, some of it is silence, some of it is timing. My family passed down habits in unofficial ways, not through lectures, more through weather in the room for years and days. How conflict got approached, how praise was kept in check, how worry disguised itself as care and sat behind the neck. None of it felt chosen, then it simply felt like air, the baseline of a household, the normal everyone shares. Only later did I notice how much of me was formed by patterns never spoken but consistently performed. The speed at which I answered the caution in my joy, the way I brace for change even when change brings what I'd enjoy. That's private inheritance, not property but tone. A set of interior defaults that make yourself feel known, and there is love inside it, which is why it's hard to sort. You don't want to reduce your people to the things that came up short. You want a whole complexity, the care and also cost. The strength's transmitted clearly in the subtle things that crossed into your way of being without ever being named. Private inheritance is intimate and strange.
Private inheritance,
what the family doesn't list.
the gestures and the silence,
To still live in the risk.
not all of it is burden,
Not all of it is burden.
not all of it is grace.
Continues in the way we take our place.
Held it in hand,
What the family doesn't list.
the gestures and the
To
signs,
still live in the risk.
not all of it is burden,
Not all of it is grace.
Probably all of it is
It
grace.
continues in the way we take our Your organ breathes underneath like memory under speech. Not loud but in the structure shaping what the words can reach. That's how inheritance works when it's emotional, not legal. It settles in reactions long before it becomes visible. I caught it in relationships and what I call restraint. The little ways I disappeared when closeness made me faint. I caught it in ambition too. The pressure to be useful, to justify my presence through a mode of being dutiful. Those patterns had advantages, they built a certain spine. It kept me functioning in rooms that did not feel like mine. But adaptation kept too long becomes a narrow range. A self that knows how to endure but struggles more to change. So I began to ask not only what my people gave, but what in me was still performing for a past I no longer had to save. That question opened history without making it a cage. Private inheritance became material, not fate. What's handed down can be examined. What's examined can be used. What's useful can be honored. What is harmful can be used.
Private inheritance,
What the family doesn't list.
the gestures and the
That
silence,
still live in the risk.
not all of it is burden,
Not all of it is great.
private inheritance is grace.
Continues in the way we take our place.
All is
Why?
inheritance.
What the family doesn't list.
The gestures and the signs,
Still live in the risk.
not all of it is burden,
Not all of it is great.
private inheritance is grace.
Continues in the way we take our place. What I hope to pass along is something more revised. Not a rejection of my people, but a cleaner way to guide what was good and what they gave me through a more deliberate form. Steadiness without distance, care that doesn't hide its norm. A language where affection isn't rationed into hints. A discipline that holds but doesn't harden into flint. That's the work of adulthood as I understand it now. To become a thoughtful editor of what and how. The lineage lives forward through the choices that you make. Not in grand declarations, in the daily ways you shape. A room, a conversation, a standard, a reply. Inheritance gets altered slowly, often quietly. Private inheritance may always mark the grain, but grain is not a prison, it's the wood beneath the frame. You can cut against it gently, you can build with what is there. You can make a different household from the same material. And care, know what arrive, choose what remains. That's how a lineage changes.
Hey yo, yo. We yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, we yo, 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 50 is the age at which the inventory becomes honest. Before that, you're still projecting forward, still a promise of what might happen is doing most of the work. At 50, the might happen starts to give way to the actual smirk of what is and probably will remain a real count. I take the inventory without catastrophizing amount, without the performance of crisis that some people put on at this number. The expensive car, the sudden hair, the life torn asunder and rebuilt from scratch is evidence that time was beaten. Time wasn't beaten, time is time. What I've been given is 50 years of accumulating both useful and useless things, and now the work is sorting with the clarity that brings asset column, the relationships that prove themselves durable, the work that has a through line, something I can curate, a plural form of self that's still coherent across decades. The people who stayed present through the difficult cascade. And then so when you're 50, count what runs, count what stalled, count what you build, count what you let fall. Honest accounting doesn't need a crisis to proceed, it needs a table of clear light and the willingness to read. Inventory of 50, count what runs, count what stalled, count what you build, count what you let fall. Honest accounting doesn't need a crisis to proceed, it needs a table of clear light and the willingness to read. Liability column, the years I spent maintaining a performance of certainty. I didn't have the confidence conformance to an image of someone who knew where he was going. I spent considerable energy on that not knowing, that presented as knowing. The course was in the friction, the effort of maintaining the gap between the fiction and the actual interior, the constant small adjustments. I don't do that anymore, the relief in those adjustments. Absence is one of the genuine gifts of this decade. I know less with confidence than I did at 30. That's not failure, that's the intelligence becoming sturdy enough to hold uncertainty without collapsing into it. The relationships I let go of, I carry some with the bruise of having been careless, some with the clean release of having recognized the mismatch. Both types have their piece. Eventually the bruised one's longer, but eventually the inventory at 50 is not a judgment, just a tally. Inventory at 50, count what runs, count what stalled, count what you built and count what you let fall. Honest accounting doesn't need a crisis to proceed, it needs a table of clear light and the willingness to read. Inventory at 50, count what runs, count what stalled, count what you built and count what you let fall. Honest accounting doesn't need a crisis to proceed, it needs a table of clear light and the willingness to read. What still runs, the curiosity that made everything worthwhile, the ability to be interested in something for its own style of being without the angle of what it returns. That's the thing I'm most careful to protect. It earns nothing directly and it's the source of everything real I've managed to do, I think, feel. The inventory at 50 isn't frightening from where I stand. It's useful, a business you don't audit runs on sand. A life you don't examine runs on assumption. An assumption is fine until the cost of the consumption of unexamined time becomes apparent. The 50 is a youthful number because it's not the end, it's transparent enough to see through it, out obstruction to the direction. This track hits hard because the reckoning deserves that inflection. Not grief, not celebration, the specific sound of someone counting what they have with clear eyes. Need a mounting a defense nor a prosecution just to count 50 years, that's the inventory, that's the amount. Hey yo, that defense only at 50. Count what runs, count what stalled, count what you build, count what you let fall. Honest accounting doesn't need a crisis to proceed, it needs a table of clear light and the willingness to read. Inventory at 50, count what runs, count what stalled, count what you build, count what you let fall. Honest accounting doesn't need a crisis to proceed, it needs a table with clear light and the willingness to read. The table stays clear. Yeah, count continues. What runs keeps running. What runs keeps running. What runs keeps running. The inventory holds.
Count the lit windows on the high floors, wondering what it looked like behind those doors. Counting windows from the block below. One day I'll be up there, one day I'll know. Counting windows, every light of gold. Every floor a chapter in the story of my soul.
12 years old, looking up at Manhattan glass, telling myself that something like this wouldn't pass me. Not with arrogance, just with a quiet certainty that the distance between here and there was only energy. My uncle said the city doesn't owe you a single thing, but it will give you everything if you bring what you bring. I kept that close, turned it over in my mind. Used it when the easier road was easy to find. The kick dropped solid like a foundation being laid. The snare hit sharp like a promise being made. I counted windows like some kids count sheep at night. Each one a different version of what getting there look like. Not money as the point, but what the money represents. Option, stability, space, and a different kind of presence from the block below.
One day I'll be up there, one day I'll know. Counting windows, every light of gold. Every floor a chapter in the story of my soul.
The come up isn't linear, I learned that the hard way. 2 steps forward and the third one goes sideways. But sideways isn't backwards if you keep the direction. Every detour taught me something about my own reflection. I met people on the way up who help without agenda, and others who smile while they plan a different surrender. Learn to read the room before the room reads me. That's the education that the street gave for free. The bass rolls deep like accumulated time. The synth hangs cold like the space between each climb. Flow, measure, because the journey demands measure. Every bar a unit of the work with counting windows from the block below.
One day I'll be up there, one day I'll know. Counting windows, every light of gold. Every floor a chapter in the story of my soul.
Now I'm in some of those rooms I used to watch, and the view from inside is different than I thought. Not worse, just realer, more work than it appears. The people in those windows carry their own fears, but the distance I covered to get here is mine. Every counter window was a marker on the line. Boom back for the ones still looking up tonight. For counting windows and believing in the lights from the block below.
One day I'll be up there, one day I'll know. Counting windows, every light of gold. Every floor a chapter in the story of my soul. Counting windows from the block below. One day I'll be up there, one day I'll know. Counting windows, every light of gold. Every floor a chapter in the story of my soul.
Still count windows out of habit when I ride. Reminder of the distance and the hunger still inside.
Mercy of the ledger. Not denial. Not punishment. Accurate mercy. Yeah, no. I used to keep account like every fault deserved a sentence. Like guilt was proof of seriousness and shame was moral fitness. A strict internal auditor with no capacity for grace. Reading every human error like a permanent disgrace. The style of self-assessment looks responsible from far. It sounds like high standards, like a disciplined regard. But underneath the posture was a fear I couldn't name. If I loosen judgment once, I'd never hold the frame. So I carried old mistakes in active folders year to year, reopening them regularly as if pain made the picture clear. It didn't, it just narrowed me, it made the ledger lie. A system built of punishment distorts what it applies. You start to count the failures with forensic vivid art and lose the equal rigor for the strength that held you up in part. That's not honesty, that's bias dressed as virtue in a code. A crooked book that still looks serious in the notes. Mercy of the ledger means the whole account gets read. Not just the losses, not just the lines that keep you in your head. Mercy of the ledger, tell it whole, tell it plain. What it cost, what it built, what was wisdom, what was strain. Not indulgence, not erasure, not pretending what was fine. Mercy of the ledger, read the full line. Yeah, mercy of the ledger, tell it whole, tell it plain. What it cost, what it built, what was wisdom, what was strain. Not indulgence, not erasure, not pretending what was fine. Mercy of the ledger, read the full line. Yeah, the road sits slow and patient like a thought allowed to stay. Not rushed into a verdict, not forced to go away. That's the kind of inner climate I've been trying now to make. A room where truth can enter without wearing only ache. I can say where I withdrew when presence should have stood. I can say where fear translated itself into something rude. I can name the years I optimized for goals I didn't choose, and how performance gave me trophies with a private kind of bruise. But I can also name endurance without shame in saying so. The times I held the line with no external proof to show. The friends I didn't fail, the work I did with care. The mornings I came back to life when numbness filled the air. A useful ledger measures pattern, not identity by scar. But that's what these events are teaching, not just who you are. There's a difference between accountability and ritual blame. One repairs
repairs the structure, one keeps feeding the flame. Mercy isn't softness, it's precision without cruelty. That's the only kind of accounting that can make a person free.
Mercy of the ledger, tell it whole, tell it plain. What it cost, what it built, what was wisdom, what was strain. Not indulgence, not erasure, not pretending what we're fine. Mercy of the ledger, read the full line. Yeah, mercy of the ledger, tell it whole, tell it plain. What it cost, what it built, what was wisdom, what was strain. Not indulgence, not erasure, not pretending what we're fine. Mercy of the ledger, read the full line.
Yeah, what I want as I get older is a cleaner form of truth. Not the theatrical confession that mistakes intensity for proof. Just an accurate relation to the life I've actually led. What I carried well, what I still avoid, what still lives in my head. Mercy of the ledger is a practice, not a mood. A refusal to reduce the self to either bad or good. Weekly on mixed in that more specific, more revised. The light becomes more legible with nuances allowed inside. I keep the book open now, but not as open wound. More like a set of working notes in a quieter room. When something needs amending, I amend it while I can. When something deserves credit, I write it in by hand. That's not self-esteem talk, that's structural maintenance. A life improves through contact, not relentless self-containment. Mercy of the ledger gave me back a way to see the point of honest accounting is not punishment, it's clarity. Read it straight, all of it, then move with cleaner hands up. Then with cleaner hands.
Like 100 pale lines over tie back seats. Driver barely talking, radio low in the dash. Whole city doing math in the glow of the fag glass. I knew nights with $10 felt like a cliff. One wrong ride home, put a bend in the shift. That's city arithmetic, not the kind of school, the kind of teach posture, restraint and rules. Who walks, who pays, who waits on the train, who checks the coat pocket twice in the rain. Kick knock hard like a trunk shut flat. Snare hit sharp like the truth of that. I write from the side where the small course stack, where the whole week lean off a little cash gap. No fake mob tails, no oversized gloss, just a grown-up shape of a small real loss. Need a running cold, red light, wet street. Every dollar gotta wait when the month feel weak. Need a running cold, low sky, last ride. We learn how to think with the pressure inside. Need a running cold, red light, wet street. Every dollar gotta wait when the month feel weak. Need a running cold, low sky, last ride. We learn how to think with the pressure inside. Front seat got coffee rings and a cracked dispatch mic. Rear view full of faces trying to hold on right. One man headed home from a kitchen in Queens. One woman with shopping bags and a look too clean to show what the day took out of a frame. That's New York dignity, quiet under strain. The groove swing crooked like a cab lane merge. SB dust in the snare bass under the curb. I keep the hook playing cause the life already dense. No need to decorate what already got weight. Piano chopped thin like heat in a bad apartment. Horn stab brief like a bill department. This for the ones who know fair box dread and the way a small number but can live in your head. Golden era field, one loop, one stand. Rain on the roof and static in the air. Yo, meter running cold, red light, wet street. Every dollar gotta wait when the month feel weak. Meter running cold, low sky, last ride. We learn how to think with the pressure inside. Meter running cold, red light, wet street. Every dollar gotta wait when the month feel weak. Meter running cold, low sky, last ride. We learn how to think with the pressure inside. Now every blinking fair sign pulled me back to the age when movement itself had attached me to running cold toward line control. How to say more with a measured tone. That's why the verse sit right in the beat, like a late ride home through slush and heat. No loud opening, no gimmick speech, just a dark groove close enough to reach. When the hook returns, let it feel like thought. Not a slogan, just the truth you caught. East side grown talk, when I've been facts. A cold meter still ticking through the track. Meter running cold, red light, West Street. Every dollar gotta wait when the month feel weak. Meter running cold, low sky, last ride. We learn how to think with the pressure inside. Meter running cold, red light, West Street. Every dollar gotta wait when the month feel weak. Meter running cold, low sky, last ride. We learn how to think with the pressure inside. Wipers keep time. Fair light glows red. Cab turns the corner. The beat stays dead. Yo, 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 yeah, yo. Father came home with the same hands every night. Callous and steady, always doing it right. Blue collar blueprint, the one he left me. Work honest, stand tall, let the work speak. Blue collar blueprint, no shortcut design. Every day you lay another brick on the line. He never talked much about philosophy or plans. He talked about the job and what it takes of a man. Show up early, do more than what they ask. Don't complain about the weight, just carry the task. Simple code that sounded basic until I tested it. In rooms where everyone was performing, he suggested it. The ones who lasted weren't the loudest in the space. They were the ones who kept delivering with grace. The kick falls heavy like his boots coming through the door. The snare hits clean like the discipline he wore. I took his blueprint and I translated it to mine. Different industry, same ethics, same design. Blue collar thinking in a white collar room. The combination clears a very different kind of gloom. Blue collar blueprint, the one he left me. Yeah, work honest, stand tall, let the work speak. Blue collar blueprint, no shortcut design. Every day you lay another brick on the line. I've seen people with every advantage stumble hard because they never learn to work without regard for how it looked or who was watching or the praise. Just the work itself burning through the haze. My father never needed an audience to perform. The standing was internal, it was built into his form. That's the rarest thing I found in all my years. People who work the same when nobody appears. The minor piano falls like a memory precise. The synth pad holds cold like a steady advice. Flow flat because the blueprint doesn't need to shout. The results speak louder than anything else, no doubt. Blue collar blueprint, the one he left me. Yeah, work honest, stand tall, let the work speak. Blue collar blueprint, no shortcut design. Every day you lay another brick on the line. Success built on this blueprint feels different to hold. Not lighter, not easier, but honest and bold. I know every layer because I laid it myself. No mystery in the structure, no borrowed wealth. When it gets hard, I go back to the original page. Show up, do the work, repeat across every stage. Boom bap for the blueprint, passed down through the hands for blue collar wisdom. And where it lands, blue collar blueprint, the one he left me. Yeah, work honest, stand tall, let the work speak. Blue collar blueprint, no shortcut design. Every day you lay another brick on the line. Blue collar blueprint, same hands, different work, same foundation. Blue collar blueprint built this whole situation.
Yo, you know what I'm saying? And will the matter the most coming out of this shit out the run racket and shit. Wanna black, nigga, black, wanna black, nigga, black, black, wanna black, wanna black, nigga, black, wanna black, nigga, black, wanna black, black, wanna black, nigga, yo, the black, on the black, on the black, nigga, yo, the black, black, on the black, nigga, yo, the black, nigga, black, on the black, nigga, yo.
Red wheat has a different quality of air inside it, a specific compression, a tighter feel of quiet. Run a calculation that doesn't stop during the day. How much, how far, what moves, what stays. My mother ran this calculation for 15 years, raising us without interruption, without error, significant enough to cause the specific disaster that was always adjacent, always possible. The margin was small enough that a single variable going wrong could cascade into something hard to fix. She knew every variable, she knew the tricks of the timing. Was bill accepted 2 days late, would still get credit through the end of the month, which freight of the week could be shifted without penalty. This knowledge was a form of intelligence, no academy, teachers or rewards, a credential for she held it in the body. In the practice, daily calculation well fit into her routine. The way a complex skill becomes automatic.
Rent week, the math that doesn't pause for anything. The calculation running underneath the everything else that happens. Constant, precise without a margin. Somebody always doing this, somebody always bargaining with the month. The make it work, that's the fact.
The grocery calculation is its own specialty, which combination
line of items feeds 4 people. Actually, for a week on the available figure, adjusted for the sale items at the back of the circular. The 4 coupons that apply to things you buy anyway. This is not poverty, tourism. I'm describing this the way a significant portion of people I grew up around living, managed with precision and with pride and with the grit of practical knowledge that the situation required. The pride is the thing that gets missed when it's admired. It's suffering from the outside. It wasn't primarily suffering, it was competence under constraint, the buffering of a family from the worst of what could happen through skill and attention and the discipline pattern of someone who understood the stakes completely. My mother wasn't martyred by this, she managed it neatly. That's the accurate word, neatly, with competence, with care.
Rent week, the math that doesn't pause for anything. The calculation running underneath the everything else that happens. Constant, precise without a margin. Somebody always doing this, somebody always bargaining with the month to make it works, that's the fact.
I make more money now than my mother made in those years. The rent week calculation is not mine in the same way. The fears that were her daily background noise and not my daily noise. I hold that difference carefully without the false poise of pretending the difference doesn't exist or doesn't matter. It matters what I carry from those years is not the latter. They romance the scarcity, but the actual skill she modeled, the precision, the plan, and the refusal to be throttled by circumstance and the carelessness or waste. This track hits hard for her, for the rent week, for the taste of the last few days of the month, managed correctly for the confidence that holds families together. Directly.
Rent week, the math that doesn't pause for anything. The calculation running underneath the everything else that happens. Constant, precise without a margin. Somebody always doing this, somebody always bargaining with the month to make it works, that's the fact. Rent week, the math that doesn't pause for anything. The calculation running underneath the everything else that happens. Constant, precise without a margin. Somebody always doing this, somebody always bargaining with the month to make it works, that's the fact.
The first rolls around, calculation closes. She made it again. The month begins.
Everyone has rooms they avoid, not physical ones. Interior rooms. You know the kind. Yeah. I organize my life around not entering certain rooms, not literal spaces, but memories with specific fumes. Subjects I could discuss directly but never inhabit. Patterns I call personality, and instead of damage a habit is sufficient in a way to root around what hurts. You still build a function in life, you still go to work, you still make conversation, still laugh in the right place, still maintain the architecture of a credible face. That's what made it hard to notice. Avoidance as a cost. Nothing obvious was broken, nothing out would look lost, but whole sections of the self go offline under that design. And the price is subtle, narrow, and mistaken for being fine. You stop asking certain questions because the answers pull thread. You call it moving forward, but some part of you was fled. I know that mechanism well, I used it with real skill. The room stayed dark for years cause I paid the electric bill of distraction, performance, urgency, and useful noise. Anything to keep the door closed on what might kill the poise.
Rooms I avoided didn't disappear. They waited in the dark and learned to live here. You don't erase a room by refusing the light. Rooms I avoided still shape the night. Rooms I avoided didn't disappear. They waited in the dark and learned to live here. You don't erase a room by refusing the light. Rooms I avoided still shape the night.
The guitar loop circles like a thought near the door. Not dramatic, not demanding, just present more and more. That's how the avoided things return. Not always as a storm, but as repetition, the phrase, a familiar form. The conflict that keeps recurring, the same old shutdown move. The tenderness that feels unsafe, no matter who you prove is trustworthy in the present. The overreaction scale to a past event your current story says has long since failed to matter. But the body keeps a different archive. It stores what the mind files away in order to survive. And survival is not healing. That distinction changed my frame. What kept me functioning was not always what I should acclaim. I had to sit with memories without turning them to myth, without making them the center, but no longer pleading fifth. There's a middle path and honest work that neither glorifies nor denies the room. It enters it and opens both its eyes. Hey.
Rooms I avoided didn't disappear. They waited in the dark and learned to live here. You don't erase a room by refusing the light. Rooms I avoided still shape the night. Rooms I avoided didn't disappear. They waited in the dark and learned to live here. You don't erase a room by refusing the light. Rooms I avoided still shape the night.
profound inside was less theatrical than fear suggests. Not monsters, not revelation, mostly grief and unfinished text. Conversations never had versions of myself half-made. A younger nervous system still expecting to be betrayed. That deserves more care than shame, more witness than command. You don't evict no survival by force of will or plan. You learn this language, thank it for the work you used to do. Then you teach it slowly that the room contains more view than it did when it was built. More era, different year, the self can update, but only when what's hidden can't appear. I'm not fully through those rooms, I probably never will become the kind of person with no shadow windowsill. But I know avoidance now by how it shrinks the range of what I can feel and still remain unchanged. So I keep a little courage for the interior door. That's all the work is, really entering one room more.
Open the door, not all at once, not all at once, just enough to breathe in there.
Silence is expensive now. Everything wants your attention. Everything wants to rent space in your head. Listen, I used to think distraction was a harmless modern weather. Just part of living now, part of pulling days together. Little scrolling in the morning, little noise before sleep. A voice in every empty corner where reflection might get deep. But the mind keeps a ledger even when we don't. And every fractured hour leaves a mark we say it won't. The thought I couldn't finish, the feeling I outran. The conversation with myself postponed again. Noise doesn't always arrive as chaos, that would make it easier. It often sounds useful, informed, familiar, nearer. It wears the mask of relevance of staying in the stream, while thinning out the fabric of attention at the seam. I noticed it one evening when the room finally went still. How difficult it felt to sit without reaching by will. That discomfort was an emptiness, it wasn't something missing. It was the backlog of the self finally insisting.
The cost of noise is hard to see at first. It doesn't break the cup, it slowly grows the thirst. It takes your depth in fractions, not all at once and forth. The cost of noise, that's what we pay of late.
Yeah.
Pay of course.
The rhyme of old land soft like a thought not rushing in. A note with enough patience to let another thing begin. That's the quality I'm after now, a slower kind of mind. One that doesn't need immediate certainty to fill a line. We live inside a sentence built to fracture what we hold, to monetize interruption, to keep the nervous system sold. On novelty is nourishment, on constant input is care. But information isn't wisdom just because it's there. I've had to relearn boredom as a threshold, not a flaw. A place where deeper patterns surface if you don't withdraw. The first few minutes feel unproductive by design, because the measured world can't quantify the kind of time. But what returns when noise receives is strangely concrete. A cleaner sense of value, a more honest sense of need. Not mystical, not grand, just less diluted, more exact. Like hearing your own footsteps in the room and hearing back.
The cost of noise is hard to see at first. It doesn't break the cup, it slowly grows the thirst. It takes your depth in fractions, not all at once and forth. The cost of noise, that's what we pay, of course.
Yeah, what I protect now is not silence as an image or a brand, but enough unbroken attention to actually understand, to stay with a difficult thought past the point of easy phrasing, to notice what in me is performative or evasive. The world will keep on speaking, I'm not built to disappear. The work is choosing what gets entry and what stays at the pier. The work is making intervals where signal can't arrive without competing with 1,000 things that only simulate life. I still lose whole afternoons to the old machinery. I still confuse the active mind with true interiority, but I know the difference now when knowledge changes use. Once you know what noise costs, you can't pretend you didn't choose. So I return to quiet, not as purity, not as escape, but as the one condition where the self can hold a shape. The cost of noise is cumulative, so is repair. You get yourself back in increments, you start there, turn it down. Not forever, just long enough to hear what's actually yours. What's actually yours. down. Not forever, just long enough to hear what's actually yours.
Yo, the extra shift starts when the first one ends. Not overtime exactly, just the math that never bends. Rent due on the first, car note on the 15th. 2 kids' shoes wearing thin, 1 month between. I know the arithmetic of borderline by feel. The difference between fine and not fine measured by each meal. My mother ran these numbers before I understood numbers. Before I knew what the worried face meant through the bedroom slumbers. She worked the hospital kitchen, 7 to 3. Then the evening cleaning service 4 nights a week. I watched her put her feet up for 11 minutes at 5. Drink half a cup of coffee, then begin the next part of her life. Not complaining, that's the thing that stays with me most. Not the labor, but the absence of performance in the post-labor hour. She didn't narrate the sacrifice, she just continued. That continuation was the price. Extra shift, the second part of the day's equation. The hours that don't show up in any formal documentation. Somebody always working when you think the work is done. The extra shift is how the math adds up to 1. I took my first job at 15 in the deli on the corner early Saturday before the block was up a little warmer by 7. When the regulars came in for their coffee and a roll, I learned the way to earn money before I learned the soul of what money actually is. A translation of time. Every dollar a specific hour in a specific life. That translation doesn't hold when money moves too fast. When the gap between the work and the pay is too vast. But at 15 with $3 an hour, I felt the conversion clearly. This hour of standing became this, which wasn't nearly the directness of it. Was a kind of education that no amount of late attraction replaced an estimation. My mother saw my first check and said nothing for a moment. Then don't let this be your ceiling. That was the whole comment. Everything else was mine to figure out from there. But that one line contained a lifetime's worth of care. The extra shit, the second part of the day's equation. The hours that don't show up in any formal documentation. Somebody always working when you think the work is done. The extra shift is how the math adds up to 1. The extra shift, the second part of the day's equation. The hours that don't show up in any formal documentation. Somebody always working when you think the work is done. The extra shift is how the math adds up to 1. The extra dignity in the extra shift is not the suffering. It's the choice to show up anyway, the buffering of the people you're responsible for against the cost of what happens to families when the will gets lost. I've seen both, I know what the alternative looks like. It doesn't look like rest, it looks like a long strike against the self that empties something out for good. My mother worked because she understood that the work was not the point, but what the work was for us. Stable moving forward with a little more than she had started with. That's the whole ambition. Passed quietly through the extra shift, through the repetition. This track hits hard because the subject asks for that. For a beat that caused something lands flat. Sounds like a body that showed up when it didn't have to. The extra shift, that's the whole statue. The extra shift, the second part of the day's equation. The hours that don't show up in any formal documentation. Somebody always working when you think the work is done. The extra shift is how the math adds up to 1. The extra shift, the second part of the day's equation. The hours that don't show up in any formal documentation. Somebody always working when you think the work is done. The extra shift is how the math adds up to 1. Clock out at 3. Clock in at 4. Somebody's working. The math holds more. Clock out at 3. Clock in at 4. Somebody's working. The math holds more.
The kitchen table after dinner was the homework table. No study, no desk, just a cleared off space to stable. 4 feet of farm between the dishes and the morning. My mother sat with me for the first years without warning me that she didn't understand most of it past a certain grade. She sat because the sitting was the message that she made. This matters, I'm here, you do this and I witness it. When the math outran her, she kept sitting through the bit she couldn't help with. Available for what she could. The dictionary was always on the table, that was understood as the tool for the questions neither of us could answer directly. Look it up, not because she didn't know, but to teach me the habit of the reference, the posture of the searcher. The habit state, that table was the first researcher's table I ever sat at for Mika fluorescent. Her cup of tea, the original library, she built it for me.
Not a desk, a kitchen clear, not silence. The sound of the house around it, the years of her sitting there, whether or not she could help. The table was the lesson before the lesson itself. Not a desk, a kitchen clear, not silence. The sound of the house around it, the years of her sitting there, whether or not she could help. The table was the lesson before the lesson itself. By high school, I was past where she could follow the content, the chemistry, the calculus, the essays with their long intent. She kept sitting for a while, then the sitting stopped. Not abandonment, appropriate recognition that I taught what she could offer in the subject and needed something else. What she given me by then lived on the shelf of habit and showing up. Staying until it's done, the understanding the difficulty is not a reason to run from the work, but a signal to work with more attention. Those lessons don't require calculus for their transmission. She gave me them in the years. She could sit beside me in a clear table, the dictionary, the way she tried to work through what she could before admitting the limit. The honesty of that limit was just some kind of exhibit. She didn't pretend, she sat as far as she couldn't stop. That honesty about capacity, the model version of it dropped into me somewhere as a usable thing. Know what you know, work what you have, sit beside the people you love as they grow.
The homework tape.
Not a desk, the kitchen clear, not silence. The sound of the house around it, the years of her sitting there, whether or not she could help. The table was the lesson before the lesson itself.
The homework tape.
Not a desk, the kitchen clear, not silence. The sound of the house around it, the years of her sitting there, whether or not she could help. The table was the lesson before the lesson itself. I have a desk now, a good chair, proper light. When my daughter does her homework, I sit nearby at night. Not always able to help with the content, past the point. Present for the sitting, for the presence, for the joint. Understanding that this work matters and I see you doing it. The Formica table lives in the oak desk, I'm pursuing it. That original architecture of attention and the care. My mother at that kitchen table, I can still see her there. This track plays warm for her, for the clip from master space. For every kitchen table that held the first educational place.
The homework tape.
Not a desk, a kitchen clear, not silence. The sound of the house around it, the years of her sitting there, whether or not she could help. The table was the lesson before the lesson itself.
The homework tape.
Not a desk, a kitchen clear, not silence. The sound of the house around it, the years of her sitting there, whether or not she could help. The table was the lesson before the lesson itself.
The table clears. The books come out. She sits beside the word continue.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yo, I started taking the long way home in my late 20s. Not lost, not broke, just needing the decompression of the plenty of city between the job and the door. The buffer zone of 40 minutes that belong to no agenda. Mine alone, you learn a neighborhood differently on foot over years. The side streets with the good light at 5, the spot that clears out early so you get the bench. The corner where the old men play cards on a folding table from April to November and then disappear to spring like something seasonal and certain. The rhythm of a block is readable when you're not urgent, when you're not running for the express, not checking the next thing. Just moving through the city like it's a text. You're not trying to finish, just following the sentence. The long way home taught me the neighborhood's dimensions in a way the short way never did. A different scale, a different resolution, more detail in the detail. The long way home, 40 minutes, no one owns. The city gives you something when you walk it on your own. Not peace exactly, more like clarity, a signal. The noise drops off, the frequency goes single. Yeah, the long way home, 40 minutes, no one owns. The city gives you something when you walk it on your own. Not peace exactly, more like clarity, a signal. Yeah, the noise drops off, the frequency goes single. I solve more problems walking than I ever solved sitting. Something about the motion and the visual input hitting. The same brain at the same time frees something from the grip of whatever stuck it. The body moving lets the thought slip sideways into something useful, something that connects. The walk doesn't force the insight, it creates the context in which the insight can arrive without being demanded. That distinction matters, the best thinking is not commanded. I started keeping a small notebook in my jacket for these walks, writing down a fragment when it came. 2 words or clause, no blocks, a formal composition, just a capture of the moment. Most of it is nothing, some of it became the component of something real later. The ratio is fine with me, you put in the 40 minutes, you see what comes free. The city is a generous collaborator if you're patient. It offers things to those who walk it without agenda. Ancient, immediate, it once stands with the accumulated time of everyone who moved through it and left their partial rhymed up. The long way home, 40 minutes, no one owns. The city gives you something
something when you walk it on your own. Not peace exactly, more like clarity, a signal. The noise drops off, the frequency goes single, yo. The long way home, 40 minutes, no one owns. The city gives you something when you walk it on your own. Not peace exactly, more like clarity, a signal. The noise drops off, the frequency goes single. There are streets I've walked so many times, I know they moves the way the light hits the corner at the equinox. The hoods of the buildings at that hour, the specific smell of the drain after rain, the sound the hardware store makes when it pulls the chain on the gated closing. This granular knowledge is not useful in any practical sense. It's the city being truthful about what it is to live somewhere long enough to absorb it, to stop being the visitor and become part of the orbit. I take the long way home, still different city, same practice. 40 minutes between the work and the door, the refraction of the day through motion. This track moves at walking pace for everyone who found the thinking in the city's face. The long way home, 40 minutes, no one owns. The city gives you something when you walk it on your own. Not peace exactly, more like clarity, a signal. The noise drops off, the frequency goes single, yeah. The long way home, 40 minutes, no one owns. The city gives you something when you walk it on your own. Not peace exactly, more like clarity, a signal. The noise drops off, the frequency goes single, yeah. The walk continues, yeah. The notebook stays open. The city offers, yeah. The long way holds. Yeah. Yeah. Metro card in the slot, turnstile, green light go. City underneath the city, everything below. 45-minute queued is a particular kind of school. You learn a subway map without a formal rule. Know the express stops to transfer at the hub. Know which car lines up with the exit. Know the subterranean logic of the things designed. Who built it and who uses it are different every line. Morning rush, the D train, standing in the pack, holding the pole above your head. Somebody's backpack pressing into you. Announcements cutting through static. System breaking down in ways that feel dramatic. Only if you have somewhere else to be instead. If this is just the morning, it's just overhead.
Metro card swiped in the morning moves. Underground, the whole city grooves. Everybody going somewhere specific and real. The train is just a feeling of the wheel. Metro card swiped in the morning moves. Underground, the whole city grooves. Everybody going somewhere specific and real. The train is just a feeling of the wheel.
Women beside you, reading something dense. A textbook by the look of it, making sense of equations in the margins with a red pen small. Nursing student maybe, or pre-med hall of fame some future year. But right now here, annotating chapters in the early morning gear. For someone with a destination and a plan, the kind of plan the train delivers. If it can't deliver means showing up. The train is infrastructure for the life you're building. It's the suture between where you sleep and where you need to go. Midtown to the Bronx, $1.50 show.
Metro card swiped in the morning moves. Underground, the whole city grooves. Everybody going somewhere specific and real. The train is just a feeling of the wheel. Metro card swiped in the morning moves. Underground, the whole city grooves. Everybody going somewhere specific and real. The train is just a feeling of the wheel.
Leaving train is slower, something loosened in the car. People with their shoes off, nothing felt bizarre about the tired. About the shoulder drop, kid asleep before it stopped. Somebody stopped and woke him at a station. Point of community, strangers holding strangers up with opportunity. You read the ads above the window on the wall. English school, immigration law. Some recall of a product you can't afford, but they keep the signs changing every month. Along the lines, get off at your stop. Walk up the stairs to air. Metro card for tomorrow already there.
Metro card swiped in the morning moves. Underground, the whole city grooves. Everybody going somewhere specific and real. The train is just a feeling of the wheel. Metro card swiped in the morning moves. Underground, the whole city grooves. Everybody going somewhere specific and real. The train is just a feeling of the wheel. Feeling of the wheel. Feeling of the wheel. Metro card city.
Turnstile clicking, platform train. The dot between stops. City underneath the city never really stops.